We've Said It.
Hi, hello, welcome to another episode of Now We've Said It. I'm your host, Quisha. Y'all, after a minor hiatus, a short hiatus, it's a little bit of a mix of technical difficulties along with busyness around the holiday season, but I promise that will not happen again. I'm getting better at managing my schedule. So before we get into the Potomac reunion part 3 recap, I do want to hit on a couple of news items, a little gossip, a little tea, and I also want to talk about Salt Lake City and Atlanta very briefly. So if y'all have been following the tea on Erica Girardi and Tom, so the last thing I heard, I think, was like he froze his assets or something, and then she posted and quickly deleted, which of course she knew people were going to screenshot, but it was Tom allegedly messaging some lady he was cheating on. Now the text messages looked very old. The screenshots, I don't know what kind of phone that was. It was definitely not a phone I've ever owned, but it was clearly old. Either way, regardless, a cheater is a cheater. But again, she chose to stay with him, and it's very convenient that she is just now releasing these text messages. It's really hard to tell what's going on with the two of them because at first it seemed like they were in this together. They were just filing to protect each other, but now it seems like Erica is protecting herself. I believe Tom has resigned from his job, and then I also heard that Erica's son is no longer talking to him. So y'all, the tea is getting very hot with them. I'm following closely because I need to know. I'm nosy, you know? Also in other news, of course, y'all may have heard about it by now, but I'm just going to briefly brush up on it because I don't know all that much about it because it was so long and so boring I could not stay to pay attention. But Jamal went live. I believe he went live after the part 1 reunion, and he pretty much just said, y'all, again, I'm only very okay, listen, I didn't really watch the whole thing. It was very long, and the way he talks, I just can't listen to his liar voice. Pretty much the whole time I felt like he was just lying to me, you know, giving me that pastor speech. He pretty much said that he and Giselle are not together, and then he basically tried to call Monique out for the things that were in her binder. If you want to listen to his entire long, drawn-out lying live, it is available on YouTube. You're not missing much out. He's just lying, you know? just being a liar. Have y'all been following the Hilaria Baldwin drama? Okay, so I've known about that for at least a year now, and it's just so crazy that it's just now coming to light. But y'all, Hilaria, whatever she wants to call herself, has been accused of faking her accent and claiming she is from Spain when she is actually from Boston, all right? And on top of that, she allegedly put on a heavy, thick Spanish accent to bed and bag Alec Baldwin, and apparently it worked. They've been married for a very long time and they have 5 kids, so, you know, y'all can look that up as well because there's video proof everywhere of her using this put on accent, and then I believe there's receipts of her calling herself Hillary, and then around the time she met Alex, she went to Hilaria. It's a mess, y'all. Let me sip my water off there. Y'all, it's a mess. Okay, so I believe that is the tea I need to talk about. Y'all, if I have any more tea, I will, of course, either bring it up on the next podcast or bring it up by the end of this podcast. I'm also looking up tea while I'm talking, so, you know me being very prepared as always. So let's talk about Salt Lake City briefly. I know I'm missing about 2 episodes, but you know. Okay, I will have to say I am really enjoying Salt Lake City so far. I still stand by what I said, where I feel like they have a lot more drama that has yet to be revealed, and they need to kind of like bring it to the forefront because it's getting a little stale, the back and forth between Mary and Jen. So most of my focus has now turned to Mary. Y'all, what's going on with Mary? I think Mary is maybe, possibly, allegedly on a mix of uppers, Adderall, a little bit of alcohol. Something is going on with the way she looks at people in those eyes, how they get wide, her mouth movements. It's all very strange and drug-like to me. Somebody get Whitney's dad to confirm. Anyway, Jen is not my favorite. She's actually my least favorite housewife of the moment. It's just very performative. Pretty sure I've heard this on another podcast, but they put it perfectly. It seems like Jen has watched every single episode and season of Housewives, just like me, and has proceeded to act accordingly. She really is doing a housewife 101 acting job, and it's very obvious. So she's not doing that good of a job, so she needs to change that around. I do feel bad for her because it does appear that she is very sad and very lonely, but that does not excuse the behavior she's been displaying. Seth and Meredith, they are very problematic. Well, he is. He's very gaslighty. The things he says to her just don't make sense. They are also actors. In that scene when they were in the room trying to do a little breakup scene, you can tell they've already had this discussion before, and it was just very uncomfortable to watch. Brooks, please design something else besides those raggedy ass tracksuits, honey. They are not it. Whitney, I'm watching Whitney. I feel like I'm either going to really love her or really hate her, but so far I am liking her. She's wild and free. She's got the husband, and they're doing the dancing, and it's a lot going on with them, but you know, I wish her the best. The storyline with her dad is very sad. What's going on with her and her brother, her stepbrother? What was that jiu-jitsu whatever scene? I was also uncomfortable watching that. Watching Mary talk about how she did not want to marry her grandfather and her get very emotional. Y'all, she is trapped. But again, she chose to do that. She didn't have to. Her mama would have did it. So, you know, that's on that. Other than that, you know, that's where we always like, Heather. Queen Heather. I'm loving Heather. She's the best. She walked in and finagled some sexy black dick. She talked this little man right out his pants. Heather is a good flirt. She knows how to mac. She knows how to get men. She left the party with a man, a sexy black man, and she went and got hers, and she did. Heather was all about it. I also really like her kids. They seem very normal and not really digging the Mormon quote-unquote BS, the judgingness. Her daughters were like, we don't want to go to church because they are judging us. So that's pretty much how I feel about Salt Lake City. I feel like they're moving. They're doing okay. It's chugging along. So Atlanta, we did not get a new episode of Atlanta this week, so I'm just going to quickly talk about episodes 2 and 3. So in episode 2, we meet the new housewife, Drew. Drew and Ralph. Drew and Ralph. He is the devil. She needs to get out of there because he's going to kill them. These are my thoughts. These are my feelings. He is dangerous. I'm scared of him. I don't like people that talk and smile when there's nothing to smile about when you're talking. It's very scary. Cynthia and Mike, I do not care about their wedding drama or lack thereof. I really do not care. I also don't care about Riley going to college. I'm sorry. Happy for her. She's going to be a spoiled little rich kid, and I don't like that, but good for her. The most important storyline is Portia's, of course. She is out there on the front lines at all these protests. She's fighting for justice. It is so good to see. I do commend her and just applaud her for everything that she's doing, and also opening her eyes, seeing that Dennis might not be the man for her, and she does not have to force that relationship. I am like, y'all, I am constantly in awe of Portia. The other new friend of Latoya, she's bothering me. She's being problematic for no reason. I definitely feel like she's saying all the things that she's saying for screen time. You don't just come out being rude to people like that when you first meet them. For example, she first met Cynthia, walked in her house, and Cynthia's assistant answered the door. She was like, who are you? Bitch, who are you? I answered the door. Then like, oh, are these plants fake? Oh, I love cold meatballs. Just being very rude for no reason. Marlo, our constant queen. Marlo pulled Latoya to the side and was like, don't trust nothing Kenya says. Wait, let me find what Marlo says. Marlo warned Latoya not to tell Kenya all of her business because she would use it against her. And then Marlo says, Kenya can't keep a man if Jesus paid her to. Marlo is ready to be petty, and I love it. And I do agree. I like Marlo not having a peach. She's perfectly fine where she is, and she says she's very comfortable with it. She gets a nice paycheck, and she doesn't have all the weight of having to carry an actual peach. So, love me some Marlo. I've had my ups and downs with her, but at the end of the day, I love me some Marlo. Kenya did eventually say she's going to officially file for divorce, but I feel like from what we saw in the previews, it looks like Mark is going to beat her to the punch, so I'm definitely interested to see how that plays out. But yeah, y'all, that whole scene with Drew and Ralph, they had the little anniversary meal. Y'all, first of all, they hate each other. They absolutely cannot stand each other. And him lying about leaving for 3 days and he wouldn't tell her where he went and then eventually said he was in Tampa. Nothing good happens in Tampa when you just dart out of your house in the middle of a pandemic and you go to Tampa. That's where you're going? Y'all, I live right near Tampa. Let me tell y'all something. There's nothing out there that is good and wholesome, okay? Tampa is a party city, so I can imagine he was out there up to absolutely no good. And then the whole thing about him watching them sleep, like he was recording them in the house and watching it on the cameras. Oh my God, y'all, it's crazy behavior. Also, the way he talks to her mother is completely disrespectful. I would never allow my man to talk to my mother like that. We wouldn't be together if that's how you were talking to my mom. It is completely embarrassing. Drew did say in the 3rd episode that she says that Ralph is very argumentative, and a lot of the time she finds herself taking accountability. See, that's that gaslighting, when they make you feel like you've done something wrong when really they're the problem. She needs to wake up and get out of that marriage. Then we see Tanya. She pops up. They go to a pool party. It's whatever. I'm clearly very quickly just glossing over my notes because I'm just trying to make sure I hit the good points. I did enjoy seeing Tanya. I like Tanya. I do not like Tanya as an official housewife, which I don't believe she is because she was not in the beginning credits. But, you know, they throw people in sometimes episode 2, 3. So I know we are 3 episodes in already, but you never know. Tanya could pop up with a peach, but I don't think she is. According to some gossip blogs I read, she's left the show because of the threesome allegations. So, you know. Then we have more of Mike and Cynthia's wedding talk, and I don't care. It is so boring. So the previews for episode 4 of Atlanta look really good. We have Portia and Marlo meeting up. Kenya and Candy are having a conversation where Kenya is saying that it looks like Portia is putting herself in the position to be arrested. I do not like that comment. Then we see Ralph having conversations, I'm guessing to the relationship therapist, where he says he feels like he's being emasculated. Oh my God. He's always the victim, ain't he? So yeah, and then we have more Cynthia and Mike. So yeah, whatever. Okay, so that's a quick little recap of what's been going on. I'm sorry it's not the most fluid, but I'm ready to talk about the Potomac Part 3 reunion because, y'all, it was 90 minutes long. So let me go refresh my water and I will be right back. Okay, so Potomac reunion Part 3. Like I said, this was a 90-minute finale for the reunion. Yeah, overall I will say this is definitely one of the better reunions I have watched. I usually don't really look forward to the reunions, but this one was a really good one overall. So we pick back up with Andy noticing how odd and unemotional Monique is being. She's trying to explain the Candace situation. Candace gets up and says she needs a break, and then Andy asks Monique, well, are you upset? And Monique goes, of course I'm upset. He says, well, you didn't say that. And Monique says, well, I'm just trying to explain it the way I've been processing it. Meanwhile, Candace is in the makeup room. She's getting her makeup fixed, but she's continuously crying, so it's a little difficult, but they're trying their best. Chris comes back to lift her up, and he's trying to make light of everything, but he pretty much says, so you're going to let Monique control your emotions for the rest of your life? He says there's nothing that's going to change your mind about anything, so we need to go out there and we're going to finish this, and then afterwards we're going to go have a dinner, and then these cameras going to leave and we're going to do some other stuff. He's just trying to make her smile, and it's so cute and it's working. She puts a little smile on her face. Candace did mention later on that he gave her something brown, and Giselle goes, his dick? That's a throwback to Candace's first season where she said Chris has a brown dick, but no, she was talking about a little bit of alcohol eased her nerves a little bit. And Monique just said she was very triggered by Candace putting her hands in her face, and she said she just snapped. And Candace comes back, and then they get a question asking if Monique was simply not invited to the events or if it was because production was punishing her. And Robin chimes in and says that Monique asked that if there were group events to not invite her, and Monique says that's true. And then they ask Candace why did she wait so long to press charges, and Candace said she did it reluctantly because she felt she didn't have a choice when she was watching Monique paint an untrue narrative. And Monique says she's not the person who leaked all the information to the blogs, but she knows the person that leaked it. Okay, y'all, see, this is the thing I was talking about earlier in the season where Monique claims she didn't personally herself do it, but she pretty much told somebody else to do it, so that way she can be like, well, I didn't do it, this person did it. Yeah, but you told that person to do it. You can tell Monique is doing a lot of making excuses. She does eventually take accountability for some things, but a lot of things, it was a lot of excuses. And then they asked Monique why wasn't she upset when it was revealed that Candace and Karen had a conversation where Karen told Candace that if it were her, she would press charges on Monique. And Monique says that she was upset and she talked to Karen privately and they squashed it and they moved on with their friendship. friendship. And they all admit that they felt like Candace took it a little bit too far by pressing charges. And I do agree with that. It's like, girl, come on now. You didn't need to press charges. You just got a little beat up. Come on. And then Giselle chimed in with some dumbass comment. She was like, I'm not sure what the punishment should have been. Maybe like an ankle bracelet or something. What? An ankle bracelet? So you want her to be on house arrest for dragging Candace? Giselle's so dumb. And then Candace said people were making her out to be the evil villain for taking Monique away from her kids when Monique should have taken it upon herself not to lose her shit and physically attack her. She said she should have thought about her kids then and not try to blame that on Candace. True. And then Andy asked Monique why did she countersue after she had already admitted to her pastor that she was wrong, talking to Monique. And Monique said that she did it under her attorney's advice. And Giselle chimed in and said the charge was assault, right? But Candace didn't assault you. Ashley said that writing the statement on Monique's behalf was an easy choice due to what was hanging in the balance for Monique. Also considering that she and Michael were in a situation where someone was trying to paint them in a bad light and push litigation on them, so she knew what that felt like. And then she also said she thought the case wouldn't go anywhere anyway. Then why write the statement? My annoyance with Giselle and Ashley this entire reunion, parts 1, 2, and 3, I can't believe how dumb they both look in this reunion. Giselle had a dumb look on her face the entire time, like embarrassed. You should be, sis. You looked a fool for 11 hours. And then Ashley says that when she finally saw the footage, it was way more intense than what she thought. Yeah, so now you understand why people kept telling you you have no point or say in this because you didn't see anything. You weren't there. So how can you comment or write a statement about anything when you weren't there? And then he asked Candace to provide more information as to what she meant when she told Ashley that Monique and Chris talked bad about her. Candace says that there was an evening where Monique and Chris were just talking trash about the Darbys, and Andy asked Ashley if she believes it. She didn't really answer. She just pretty much said that all that matters is Monique stepped up when, like, to prove a point in their friendship or whatever. Monique stepped up to the plate in their friendship, and that's all that matters. Okay, girl. Now, I bet if Ashley gets into it with Monique anytime in the future, this will be brought up, but that won't happen because y'all, Monique has announced that she will not be returning to the show, which actually makes me very sad. It just, I understand why she's not coming back, but at the same time, it's like, come on, Monique. Watching this reunion, this part 3, knowing that this was her last reunion really shined a lot of light on her interaction with all of the other women, and especially with Andy, really kind of going at it like she was not backing down and he was not backing down from his questioning of her. He was really going in on Monique, some of his comments and his questions. I really wonder, I'm hoping, well, I'm assuming he knew that this was going to be her last reunion going into it, so I feel like that's why he went really in on her. Y'all let me know what you think about that. Do you think that Bravo and Andy knew that this was Monique's last reunion prior to the taping? Uh-oh. Hold on, y'all. My foot fell asleep. I'm in a very awkward situation. I'm in a very awkward position right now. So, dang, y'all, my foot fell asleep. Oh, shit. I don't know why every time I get ready to do a podcast, my mouth gets so dry. Yeah, what's wrong? I drink so much water while I'm recording this. Anyway, where was I? I digress. So then Monique speaks up about Candace putting her fingers in her face and how it triggered her. And she revealed that when she was younger, her father would poke her in the forehead and kind of like push her a little bit. So when people put their fingers or their hands in her face, it triggers her. And she said that it had nothing to do with Candace. And she was looking at Candace while she was saying this. She was like, I want you to know that it had nothing to do with you. She pretty much just gave a very, very sincere apology. And then Candace cries and says, I understand childhood trauma, but it's taken you over a year to actually apologize to me. And then she says, and on top of that, you've continued to do things like scratch my face out on the cast photos, say things on Twitter, write songs about me, and it would be insulting to me and everyone else's intelligence if you didn't admit that that song was about me. Monique says the song is not about Candace. The song was definitely about Candace, and that's the thing about Monique. She really does dodge the truth sometimes. Like, just go ahead and admit it. It's your last season anyway. Just go ahead and admit that the song is about her. But she doesn't want to do that because she wants to look like a good person somewhat while still being very, very shady. Y'all know I'm not on anyone's side in this fight, for sure. But Monique has done way more shadier things online with the song. I'm not going to call it bullying, but just doing little things online and talking to blogs and stuff, keeping this drama going, and then has the nerve to look everybody in the face and say, no, this song isn't about her, but at the same time saying that your therapist told you to write a song about the situation and that was the song. So the song is about her. I just wish Monique would own everything. Go ahead and go out like a boss. Own it all. Monique says when she got in the studio and released everything, that's how she felt in that moment. And she said if Candace felt the same way and needed to write a song about the way she felt, I wouldn't have a problem with it. I disagree. If Candace wrote a song like Drag Queens about Monique would do the same thing. She would bring out the receipts in the binder, she would read the lyrics, and she would make Candace say that that song was about her. And y'all know I am not lying. And Monique keeps trying to justify why she didn't apologize to Candace sooner. And she's basically says she's going by her attorney's advice. And Andy says, I think you got bad advice. It's true. And then Monique says something like, I'm not about to apologize to her over social media. And Andy says, I don't think anybody was asking you to apologize over social media, nor do I think that's a proper way to apologize. Absolutely. You had a year to call Candace and apologize if you really felt bad about it. A whole year. I know it sounds like I am not on Monique's side or I'm coming hard for Monique, but I'm not. I agree that Candace and her mouth got hurt in this situation. Now, again, hitting somebody is never okay, but again, Candace's mouth can cause one to hit one. She did somewhat, I'm going to get to it a little bit later. She takes a little bit of accountability for her mouth, but she does not take full accountability. And I do understand what Chris and Monique are saying by, hey, if everyone could just own up to everything, we could all move forward. But also, Monique isn't owning up to everything either. So they're both at a standstill. They're both being very stubborn. And I just don't see a friendship in their future at all, ever. Especially now that Monique is not going to be on the show anymore. They don't have to work together. They don't have to see each other. I just feel bad for the two Chris's. They clearly love each other. And I feel bad that they're not going to be friends anymore. Or they'll probably just hang out without the women or something like that. So then Andy asks Candace if she can take any accountability for her provoking behavior. And Candace says, yes, I am accountable for my mouth. I am a wordsmith. I know how to use my words. I know I have a smart mouth. She says there were 4 incidents prior to the wine event that she walked away from. And at the wine event, she had been drinking and she was just trying to make a joke of it by being a smart ass. She said that she definitely contributed to what happened, but what happened should not have happened. But she did agree that she contributed to it. I do consider this Candace's taking accountability for her smart ass mouth. She said it herself. Listen, I'm a smart ass. I talk too much. I provoke. So I consider that Candace taking responsibility for her part in that altercation. And then they talk to Karen about the whole choosing sides situation. I'm going to skip over this section because it's boring and I don't care about it. Karen did the best she could, all right? And then the husbands come out. Chris Samuels is not in the mood to chit chat or kiki with anyone. They start talking about some Jordan documentary and Andy goes, so Chris, did you watch it? Did you? And Chris said, I'm too busy watching filthy lies spread about my family. Andy's face was like, uh-oh. And of course, Michael, Jamal, and Juan are all absent from the reunion. Now, the 2 important people that I felt like should have been at the reunion are Jamal and Michael. Michael conveniently had a wedding to go to. That's a lie. Who's gonna miss being on TV to go to a wedding? If he knew it was gonna be all good things about him, he would have skipped that wedding so quick and been at that reunion. But he knew he would have had to take accountability for his actions. Instead, he made his wife do it. He made her sit up here and look embarrassed and look like a dummy. Again, not even protecting your wife, just throwing her out to the wolves like a little freaking baby. And Jamal, child. I would have loved for Jamal to have been at the reunion, y'all. It would have been so good. But again, he's not really with Giselle, so why would he be there? So then they asked Ray to elaborate a little bit more about when he said that he was not in love with Karen. And Ray says she knows that I love her dearly, but the question was asked if I was in love with her like I was 25 years ago. And he said he had to answer the question honestly because they were way different back then, which is true. I mean, I wish he would have said that on the show. Like, I'm not in love like I was 25 years ago, but I'm in love with you. Like, I love you for sure. It's just, it's a different kind of love now. He ain't say all that though. But whatever, he said it at the reunion. So I guess Ray was in a good mood at the reunion. He was kikiing and everything. And they asked him about like, oh, how did you feel about Karen said she wanted her money back? He said, she could try. I'm dead. And then they asked Chris Samuels about the blowjob champagne joke. How he like put up the giant champagne bottle to his mouth, insinuating a blowjob, making fun of his wife. And he says that's how they do. They poke fun, and Monique was a good sport, which she was. If that's the relationship, that's fine. But I feel like I said before, I feel like he's constantly sexualizing his wife, seeing her as only a sex object and like a mom. I don't feel like, I don't know. I didn't like the way he constantly talked about her. And then, oh, you need to give me sex if we go on a date. And it was just very, I didn't like it. I'm just going to move on from that. He did say if anybody was offended by that, he apologizes to the women. Wendy chimes in and said, my husband would not be able to do that. And he said, yeah, I can't do that, bro. Chris Samuels also spoke about his lack of helping out in the relationship, like with the kids and stuff. And he said he had to take a step back and evaluate. And now he's like Mr. Mom and he's pitching in. He's definitely doing a lot more than he was previously. I don't believe it, y'all. I definitely think that Chris and Monique, listen, they're a team. They love each other. They protect each other. I definitely feel like they watched the show and they took notes and they had prepared answers for when they got on this reunion to make themselves look stronger than ever. All of their problems are resolved when we know damn well Monique was struggling on the show with the relationship, with the way he was treating her, with his lack of being there for the family and not helping out a lot. So now all of a sudden it's the reunion and everything's perfect. I don't believe it. And then we noticed that Giselle brought a security guard of her own because of a threat that Chris made. Girl, listen. I do not think that Chris was going to actually put his hands on a woman or anyone else on that stage. Giselle is doing the absolute most, and it was just too much. It was very uncalled for. I was watching that live where Chris made those extremely inappropriate comments. He basically said... He said, I wish I could turn into Bruce Jenner and beat the hell out of all of y'all. Now, first of all, her name is Caitlyn Jenner, so don't dead name her. And also, that's just that ignorance of people not understanding what their words mean. First of all, you are threatening violence on a woman, and then you're also insulting a transgender woman. So it's just like a lot going on there. A lot of ignorant ass comments made by him. When I saw that live, y'all, I cringed. I'm like, why is he saying this? Like, so many people are watching this, and that just goes to show you that's how he really thinks, and these are the things that really are going on in his head. And I do understand that Chris is like old school and stuff like that, but you have to get with the times and learn the proper terms and things to say about people, because these are people's lives that you're talking about. So he did apologize. He said he is embarrassed by his comments and he wished he would have never said them, and he again apologized. As he's trying to apologize more and clarify his statements, Giselle is just talking over him. It's just getting a little bit heated, and then Chris Bassett somehow jumps into it and says that Chris and Monique support a blogger that went after his kids, and then Chris stands up and they had to take a break because Giselle was like, I think he was just standing up I don't think he was going to charge anybody. He was just standing up. He wasn't even in a position to like move around. It was kind of stuck between his chair and Monique's chair. Giselle, he's standing up. Why the fuck is he standing up? Girl, first of all, he's not even talking to you or at you. He's talking to Chris. He's talking to Chris Bassett. So like, what? Like Giselle, anyway. So they get back from the break and Candace addresses Chris directly. She says that there was a conversation about their baby, and Candace said she stepped in and said, of course the baby looks exactly like Chris, and the plot didn't go any further than that. Candace also alluded to the fact that Giselle was definitely trying to stir the pot and be messy with this situation. She said, I'm sorry girl, but you're messy, and Giselle was kind of like laughing it off. And then she also says, the reason I didn't come directly to you or Monique is because if I came to every single housewife about all the rumors I've heard, it would never part in. It was just another rumor, and it wasn't that big of a deal. I agree, because this trainer story, it didn't go anywhere. We never even heard much of it except for the small comment Giselle made in the beginning of the season, and after that nobody else even said anything else about it. And Chris and Monique are very worked up about this. Like, Chris couldn't think of anything else this whole reunion other than the baby plot. Then Chris Samuels asked each of the women, did any of them bring up the baby thing on the show at all? They all say no until he gets to Giselle, and she's silent, and she says, I'm not going to say anything to him. Also because she's lying. Giselle was definitely the one that was trying to push this trainer baby narrative along, and then they show some unseen footage of Giselle going to Chris and Monique's house, and Chris is like, oh, look at the baby, doesn't he look like his daddy? And Giselle's like, yes. Like, who else would he look like? And Chris said, yeah, his dad. And then they show some other unseen footage of when Giselle and Robin were in that furniture store, and Giselle was like, why would he say that to me? Why is he bringing this up at all? Like, what a weird thing to say to me. So that's how that whole thing got, like, attempted to be pushed, but of course it didn't go anywhere. And then they talk about Robin and Juan, and again, I'm skipping this segment because I do not care. And then they talk about Robin's hat business and how she's now included satin-lined hats, and they had to explain to White Andy what satin-lined hats mean to natural hair women. It is very important. Robin is very smart for putting satin in those hats. I'm telling you, because those hats are ugly, but if you sell me a hat with some satin lining, I might wear that shit. And then they talk about Michael insinuating that Juan wasn't going to propose. Here's Ashley. She says the only reason that he said that was because he felt like Juan was never going to propose to Robin because he liked their current situation. I guess. I guess that's what that could mean, but the way he was acting on the finale was like he knew something else. Acting. And then they asked Chris Samuels what he thought. He just goes, look, I'm happy for them and it is what it is. And then Robin is like, what? There was a little bit of like confusion. He just pretty much said, I'm not going to talk about them. Like he was so like blinded. And then he talks about the kid situation. He's like, yeah, because y'all just talking about my kids. If my son grows up to see this, and they were like, we didn't say anything about your son. And Andy goes, we've already talked about this for a half hour. We cannot talk about this anymore. They didn't say anything about the plot against your baby. And Chris gets up and he walks off the stage. And then they ask Karen to clarify the comment that she made about Juan when she mentioned that the things he does when he's drinking or something like that. And she goes, I spoke to Ray about this and I was prepared to say something about it, but we've already brought each other so down that we're not going to drag anybody else's family. I just want you, Robin, to keep Ray's name out of your mouth. Girl, no, it's because you didn't have any truth or any receipts behind that statement. You were just throwing something out and you were hoping it would stick. And Robin even said, because Andy was like, well, what did Juan have to say about it? And Robin was even like, Juan has never been drunk around Karen, so he has no idea what she's talking about. And Karen rolled her eyes like, okay, child. I believe Robin. I really don't think there's anything to that. I just believe Karen was just trying to say something to rile her up in the moment. So then they talk about the altercation, or somewhat of an altercation, between Michael and Chris Bassett. And Chris says that he does not tolerate disrespect on women, especially his wife. And then Ashley steps up trying to defend Michael, and because she was like something like, well, your wife has talked so bad about my husband. And then Chris shut that down. He was like, listen, if I had an issue with Michael, or just like I do with Chris Samuels, I pull him to the side and we have this conversation privately. I do not go after the wife, and I do not come yelling, saying this on camera like your wife needs to calm down. He says that's the difference. Michael is messy. And she just looks dumb in the face because he's right. All of the things he was saying, y'all didn't write everything down that way he said, but he was absolutely right. And she couldn't say anything because, bitch, he's right. Robin then thanks Chris Bassett for reaching out to her after her engagement party where he apologized for his behavior. She goes, thank you so much. And he goes, of course. And she goes, I just want to put that out there that Michael has yet to reach out to me about anything. And again, actually just looking dumb in the face. Then Andy asked both the Chris's how has the altercation affected their relationship, and they both say they pretty much they just wish it would have never happened. Chris Samuels goes on to say that he hopes that they can eventually repair the relationship, but everyone needs to take ownership in order for that to happen. I agree. Say the same thing. I hope you're talking to your wife too. Chris Bassett says that it's honestly up to Candace if she decides she wants to go forward with her relationship with Monique. He says that I've only seen glimpses of my wife, who she was in this past year, and I just want my old wife back. And if that means not having a relationship with Monique, then that's just going to be what it has to be. Ray says that he and Karen will be renewing their vows. Oh, Lord. Y'all know a vow renewal. It is truly the death of a marriage. Do not renew your vows. Then Chris Samuels gets emotional talking about Monique, and he gives her a hug, and he says that he's proud of her and he loves her. He sees her strength. It's very cute to see them, you know, hug and show some love. But I wasn't really buying it. And then he talks to Giselle and he goes, I forgive you. I release you of it. Hurt people. Get you some help. Bitch. True tea though, true tea. And then you see the two Chris's hugging it out behind the scenes, just showing love to each other. I really do love their friendship, and I hope that one day Monique and Candace can get to an acquaintance term, get to some sort of level of common understanding where they can be cordial with one another for the sake of their husbands and their relationship. Although I feel like Chris and Chris are going to continue to support each other and have a good relationship. And then Andy reveals that the reunion taping was 11 hours long. Oh my God. Pretty much asks Wendy what she's learned, and she says that because of her background, sometimes the way in which she orates can be seen as combative, and she wants to make a change. All right, so maybe we'll see a softer Wendy. And then he looks at Ashley. All he can do is sigh. Yeah, because what is there to say? Looking at this dummy. She pretty much just says she's the happiest she's ever been. Okay, girl. Then he asked Monique if she felt like she got what she needed to say out, and she says that she got the resolution she needed. She's grown so much and she feels so full, and she's very happy with where she is. Candace says that her goal was to be able to make it to the reunion because she was going to be able to bury everything once she got here and got it all out. She says that that day definitely sucked, but it's also been fun, and she's reminded of why she loves the majority of the group and their dynamic. Ciao. Finally, he gets to Karen and he brings up the vow renewal and says, Karen, it's the kiss of death. She goes, we're not going to talk about that. Oh, okay. We just want you to know, sis. A vow renewal is not it. And she talks to Giselle and she says, I know you don't want to hear from me right now, but I genuinely want you to be happy. And Giselle is not hearing it. And then she talks to Candace and she says, hopefully they can move forward. And she wishes new beginnings for the both of them. And they wrap up the reunion by slithering off the stage. Whew. Y'all, I feel like I flew through that recap, but it was a lot to talk about. It was a very long reunion, but it was good from start to finish, honestly. Like I said, the two dummies of the reunion, the two dummy awards go to Giselle and Ashley, and you know what, Michael too. And Jamal, you know what? Yes, 4 dummy awards. I wish we could have gotten to see more of what was in that binder, y'all. She had multiple tabs and we only heard about the one tab. What were the other tabs? Somebody let me know. With all that being said, y'all, going forward, be sticking to my regular upload schedule, which I believe I'm going to do Wednesdays and Fridays. I don't even know the set schedule yet, but y'all, it's either Tuesdays and Fridays or Wednesdays and Fridays, one or the other. So look out for Friday's episode where I will be recapping Salt Lake City. Until next time, this has been an episode of Now We've Said It. Bye.
But now we said it.